A man creates the smartest artificial intelligence the world has ever seen, and he brings it to the UN in New York, boasting that it can solve any problem. Really, says the President of the United States, how can it solve poverty? Calculating, says the artificial intelligence, and within a few moments it spits out a piece of paper with all kinds of proposals. The world leaders apply these wonderful suggestions, and within a month, everyone in the world is living better lives. Impressed, the leaders now turn to the artificial intelligence and ask, how can we bring about world peace? Calculating, says the artificial intelligence, and again, in just a few moments, it has a wonderful set of ideas. Again, the world leaders apply them, and all war and conflict ceases within a month. At the next gathering of the UN, curious about the purpose of life, the leaders turn to the artificial intelligence and ask, is there a God? Calculating, said the AI, but this time, however, it does not provide an answer immediately. In fact, it requires a whole day of processing before sharing the message, insufficient resources, need more data for computation. Okay, we'll help out, say the leaders of the United States, and they input all of their advanced tech into the artificial intelligences. Again, calculating is what they hear. And unfortunately, once again, insufficient data, need more for computation, says the artificial intelligence. Now all of the world leaders get involved, and they all share their high tech and their networks, everything that they have at their disposal with the artificial intelligence. And after the upgrade, the leaders ask artificial intelligence for the third time, is there a God? To which the artificial intelligence responds, there is now. It is a bit frightening, no? The idea that we are creating a kind of intelligence, a kind of technology so superior that it can produce results that human beings cannot, so powerful that it would eclipse anything and everything of which humans are capable, something so beyond our abilities and the limits of our imagination that we might consider them a substitute for God. We are getting closer every day. Evidence of how much closer we are getting to this reality was shared with the world last November. That's when ChatGPT was unveiled, and it is nothing less than remarkable and also incredibly frightening. For anyone who may not have heard of ChatGPT, here's a simplistic description of that technology. ChatGPT is a chatbot that you can converse with as if it were a human being. Of course, if you haven't heard of ChatGPT, then the term chatbot may also be causing you to scratch your heads. What is a chatbot? A chatbot is a computer program designed to simulate conversation with human users, especially over the internet. Helpful? Not really. Here's an illustration. Let's say you have a television that is not responding to the box that controls the channels. So you call the cable provider for assistance, and the automated voice that greets you on the phone says that they'd like to send you a text message with a link to an Xfinity assistant who will help resolve your issue. A mere seconds later, the text arrives with a link that you press, and now you are being helped by a chatbot. This only recently happened to me, and I found myself answering question after question as the chatbot tried to narrow down my problem. And once it did, it offered a series of solutions that in the end did nothing to resolve my issue. There are serious concerns about artificial intelligence becoming smarter than human beings and causing all kinds of chaos that could ultimately bring about the end of the world. Meanwhile, the chatbot that I dealt with couldn't get my TV to work. So I'm not exactly frightened by the capabilities of this technology yet. Although perhaps limiting our ability to watch TV and access news and current events is step one in the chatbot's plan to vanquish humanity. Or maybe the inability to get my TV working again has less to do with the Xfinity chatbot and more to do with the human user. In any event, ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence application that mimics a human being in its ability to respond to questions, to carry on a human-like conversation or dialogue, if you will. Not only can it respond to queries, it can also compose all sorts of written content, including articles, social media posts, essays, and emails. It can solve math problems, summarize articles or presentations, take complex topics and describe them with simplicity. It can code computer programs, compose music, and even generate art. And as I learned, it can produce a cogent, well-researched, and rather impressive Devar Torah. I know this because last February, on a Sunday morning when we participated in the Federation of Jewish Men's Club's worldwide rap, Bruce Fagan handed me an excellent Devar Torah about tefillin that explained the why, the when, and how of this commandment to wear on our arm and our heads leather boxes with passages from the Torah inside of them. And I marveled at the research that Bruce had done. Bruce, you should know, has shared many fantastic Divrei Torah over the years, so he could have written this one, but he didn't. Once I finished reading it, he was only too happy to tell me that the entire piece had been produced by ChatGPT. Bruce had typed into his computer a simple prompt, and ChatGPT did the rest in a matter of seconds. 2 weeks earlier, I had received an email from another member, Nathan Relis, who suggested that I consider speaking on a Shabbat morning about artificial intelligence. He even proposed a title for my talk, The Role of AI in the Synagogue and in Contemporary Jewish Issues. In a follow-up email the next day, Nathan told me that he had not actually written the prior email. AI had. Is anyone troubled by the fact that AI solicited me to speak about AI to the congregation? But there's no avoiding it these days. Artificial intelligence is being used in every facet of our world, and ChatGPT has brought this to the masses. It's impossible to say how many people are using this AI tool these days. The developers are unwilling to share that information. But what is known is that ChatGPT was unveiled at the end of November, and in January it had 100 million monthly users, making it the fastest growing consumer application in history. All sorts of concerns have been raised about its use by high school and college students. Might they be tempted to let a chatbot do their homework or write their term paper? The answer to that is yes. Oh yes, it has happened many, many times. The southeastern portion of the state of Washington is where you will find the county of Walla Walla. Last spring, Keith Ross, the school's district director of technology and information services, began hearing about ChatGPT from teachers who reported students submitting chatbot-produced homework as their own. How did the researchers know? One obvious tip-off. The chatbots fabricated quotes that were not in the novels assigned to the class. These chatbots are amazing, but they are not perfect. The students who let the ChatGPT do their assignments for them did learn one thing, and that is buyer beware. Tech giants and billionaires promised that AI tools would revolutionize learning, wrote Natasha Singer in August in a piece for the New York Times. And yet, she added, critics have warned that the bots would be more likely to undermine education, inundating students with misinformation and facilitating the widespread cheating. What to do? Some public schools tried to hit the pause button to give administrators time to catch up. Last December, the Los Angeles Unified School District, the nation's second largest school system, blocked ChatGPT on the school Wi-Fi and on district-owned student devices. And soon after that, reported Singer, other districts followed, including the country's largest school system, that being New York City. But now these school districts have begun to relax their restrictions, and as you can imagine, they are dealing with a host of questions. What should writing assignments look like in an era when students can simply employ chatbots to generate prose for them? How can schools and teachers and students use the bots effectively and creatively? Does it still count as cheating if a student uses a bot to fabricate a rough draft and then rewrites that draft himself? Unless you think that AI is only a threat to education, know that there are school systems that are embracing tools like ChatGPT as lesson planning aids for teachers and as opportunities for students to learn how bots can concoct misinformation and replicate human biases. The world our kids are inheriting is going to be full of AI, said one school superintendent, and we need to make sure that we are well equipped for it, both the benefits and the drawbacks. Putting our heads behind the curtain or under the sheets and hoping it will go away is not the answer. ChatGPT is a tool that we are all going to have to get used to. In January, not long after ChatGPT was launched, Long Island Rabbi Joshua Franklin gave a sermon to his congregation. Nothing out of the ordinary about that. What was surprising is that prior to delivering the sermon, he announced that he was not the author of the talk that he was about to give. And when he concluded the sermon, he asked those present to guess who the author of the sermon was. After a few incorrect answers, Franklin revealed that the author was ChatGPT. I gave it a prompt, he explained. I said, write a sermon in a voice of a rabbi of about 1,000 words, connecting this week's Torah portion to the idea of intimacy and vulnerability, and quote Brené Brown. Rabbi Franklin's experiment demonstrates just how eerily human-like some AI programs have become. All of this has prompted religious thinkers and institutions to wade into the conversation around the ethical issues of this rapidly expanding technology that one day might, according to some, develop a consciousness of its own. In her article, Can Religion Save Us from Artificial Intelligence?, Deborah Netburnstaff shared that these representatives from an array of religious traditions have called upon a wide range of myths, from Icarus to the Tower of Babel, to the tale of the genie who can grant all our wishes with disastrous results. They sound a warning about what happens when humans try to play God. It's possible that spiritual leaders, present company included, may one day be replaced by AI if it continues to improve the way it already has. Although I'm not sure that a bride and groom would want a chatbot speaking to them under the chuppah just yet. But most theologians, according to Netburnstaff, have indicated that other ethical concerns relating to AI are more pressing. And these are the things that ought to concern us all. They worry about growing financial inequality as automation eliminates thousands of jobs. And they question our ability to exercise free will as we increasingly rely upon computer algorithms to make decisions for us in medicine, in education, the judicial system, and even how we drive our cars and, of course, watch TV. On a more existential level, writes Netburnstaff, the better AI becomes at mimicking human intelligence, the more it will call into question our understanding of sentience and consciousness and what it means to be a human being. Do we want AI-driven robots to become our servants? Will they have feelings? And are we obliged to treat them as if they were human? These ethical dilemmas may feel new, but at their core they represent issues that faith traditions, including our own, have grappled with for millennia. Since the earliest days of AI research in the 1950s, the desire to create a human-like intelligence has been compared to the legend of the golem, a mythical creature from Jewish folklore created by powerful rabbis from mud and magic to do its master's bidding. The most famous golem is the one allegedly made by the 16th century Rabbi Judah Loew of Prague to protect the Jewish people from anti-Semitic attacks. The golem, you should know, also served as an inspiration for Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. For centuries, the idea of an animate creature made by man and lacking a divine spark or a soul has been part of the Jewish imagination. The sages argued over whether a golem can be considered a person, if it can be counted in a minion, if it could be killed, how it should be treated. Nachshon Goltz, a law professor at Edith Cowan University in Australia, who has written about the Jewish perspective on AI, offered that from these rabbinic discussions, an ethical stance on artificial intelligence emerged long before computers were invented. While it is considered permissible to create artificial entities to assist us in our tasks, we must remember our responsibility to keep control over them and not the other way around, he wrote. Rabbi Eliezer Simcha Weiss, a member of the Chief Rabbinic Council of Israel, echoed this idea in a recent speech. In every story of the golem is finally destroyed or dismantled, he said. In other words, the lesson the rabbis are teaching is that anything that man makes must be controlled by man. And yet it seems that we are fast approaching the day when artificial intelligence will have the capacity to outthink us and make decisions on its own and produce results that are out of our control. What then? Rabbi Barry Leff has warned that the capabilities of AI could end up putting so many people out of work that we would have widespread unemployment, further increases in economic inequality, and social disruption at a large scale. And this danger is not science fiction because it is unfolding before our eyes. General Motors Cruise subsidiary has all the permits and is paying passengers around San Francisco in self-driving cars with no driver present. Self-driving cars that can take you anywhere in the country simply by plugging in an address on your app are some years away. But self-driving semis that can navigate from one warehouse to another, even in another city, without a driver on board, these are already happening. According to Leff, in the U.S. alone, 4 million driving jobs are at risk. And of course, it isn't just drivers who are likely to be put out of work. There are AIs capable of replacing workers of all kinds, from warehouse workers to migrant farm workers to factory forklift operators. It is true that AIs cannot yet duplicate the works of lawyers or accountants or doctors, but they could replace paralegals, personal assistants, and translators. A paper written by researchers at the company behind ChatGPT estimated that 80% of the U.S. workforce could have at least 10% of their work tasks affected by artificial intelligence, and 19% of workers, even 50% of the tasks that they do, could be overtaken by artificial intelligence. Companies are only too happy to hire automated workers who never tire, who don't care what hours they work, and who never get COVID. In the past, as productivity improved, the economies have always been able to adapt and have been able to create new kinds of work. Some analysts, however, are concerned that AI could reduce or eliminate so many new jobs that it causes a lag in our workforce. We know all too well that the global economy is already seeing the impacts of highly automated factories, reducing the need for good-paying blue-collar jobs. The factories of today have a small number of engineers and technicians maintaining sophisticated AI-driven equipment, supported by a small number of workers doing unskilled labor. Another concern is the way that AI can be used in incredibly harmful ways. AI-driven robot soldiers could face war. AI can be used to create more powerful weapons, conduct unprecedented mass surveillance, and manipulate people with misinformation. The latter has already led to disastrous consequences. Frighteningly, it is also the case that a lot of what AI does is a mystery to the people who are doing the programming. With machine learning, the AI figures out for itself what it is doing and how to accomplish its goals. The programmers do not necessarily have insights into what the AI is doing, and that concerns many technology experts. And for this reason, we cannot be fully aware of the dangers posed by AI. You may recall having seen a letter published in the newspaper back in March. More than 1,000 technology leaders, researchers, and other experts working in and around artificial intelligence signed this open letter warning that AI technologies present profound risks to society and to humanity. Then in May, Sam Altman, the chief executive of OpenAI, the company that created ChatGPT, testified before members of a senatorial subcommittee and told them they needed to regulate the increasingly powerful AI technology being created within his own company. According to Cade Metz, author of the New York Times article, What Exactly Are the Dangers Posed by AI?, Some people who signed the letter warning of AI's profound risk to society believe artificial intelligence could slip outside of the control and destroy humanity. Yet on the other hand, wrote Metz, many experts say that's wildly overblown. My question is, which one is it? Which one of these do we need to expect? It sounds to me like the survival of our species is hanging in the balance. So which of these experts might we actually rely on? There is a teaching in Pirkei Avot that asks the question, Ezehu Chacham, who is wise? To which the answer is, Haroeh et Hanolad, the one who can see the consequences. The person who can see from the outset where things are going, that is the wise person. The issue is that when it comes to AI, no one has a crystal ball. The field is so new and changing so rapidly, it's impossible for anyone to predict with a high degree of certainty where this technology is ultimately going. AI has already benefited our world in many ways. Medical diagnoses and treatments have been improved thanks to AI's ability to find patterns in very large data sets. By automating boring and repetitive tasks, people are freed up to do more creative work. Assisted driving, the technology leading up to self-driving cars, is already making driving safer in many places. And AI-driven pilotless drones may soon be flying people from one location to another. So that's the upside. But does it outweigh the downside? The problem at this point is that we don't even know what we do not know, which is why it is important that at the same time that businesses are pouring vast amounts of money into developing ever more powerful AI technologies, we also need to provide adequate funding into research on the ethics and the dangers of AI so that we can identify potential hazards and take appropriate technological or legislative measures in order to mitigate them. The first steps to seeing the consequences is realizing that there are consequences even if we don't yet fully understand them. So there you have it. Have a great 5784, everybody. Not exactly the way I ought to finish my remarks on this most sacred day. I'm afraid that after everything I've said, you're going to leave the sanctuary feeling more anxious than when you arrived. And that's not a good way to begin a new year. Sure, there are things to worry about when it comes to AI, but what in our lives doesn't have both the potential for bad as well as good, the capacity for harm as well as enhancement, the possibility of being a curse as well as a blessing? We know that AI has the ability to improve our world and improve our lives in a tremendous number of ways, and it already has. Jewish tradition places a strong emphasis on the pursuit of knowledge and wisdom, and AI, with its capacity to analyze vast amounts of data and provide insights, can be seen as a tool that enhances our quest for knowledge. Whether it's aiding medical research, deciphering ancient texts, or deciphering weather patterns, AI helps us uncover the secrets of God's creation. Central to our faith is the concept of tikkun olam, the responsibility to repair and improve our world. AI has the potential to play a significant role in this endeavor. It can assist in addressing global challenges such as poverty and hunger and climate change through data-driven solutions and efficient resource allocation. Our Torah teaches us the importance of justice and fairness, and in the realm of AI, algorithms are being designed to promote fairness and reduce bias. Ethical AI ensures that decisions, whether in hiring, lending, or criminal justice, are made without discrimination, aligning with our values of righteousness. As Jews, we recognize our role as stewards of the earth. Integrating AI responsibly aligns with this role. We must ensure that AI development adheres to ethical guidelines and to safeguards against potential misuse. How do we do this? Can we trust good, sensible people who are developing this technology will ensure that the advances yet to come will result in more good than harm? I certainly hope so. Far from replacing the need for human beings to create, to learn, to work, and to dream, AI is providing us with the tools to do all these things more efficiently, more productively, and with potential for greater and greater achievements, things that our grandparents and our parents and even we could not have imagined. And finally, Rabbi Franklin, the rabbi who delivered a sermon written by AI, said that his experiment with ChatGPT has offered us another positive impact of AI, which we would do well to consider. Though artificial intelligence may be able to mimic our words and even read our emotions, what it lacks is the ability to feel our emotions, to understand our pain, or to connect deeply with others. Compassion, love, empathy, that's what we do best, he said. AI will force us to hone those skills and become, God willing, even more human. And that is my prayer, and hopefully our shared goal for the coming year. As AI becomes increasingly more powerful and part and parcel of everything we experience, we need to become more human, more caring, more understanding, less eager to be outraged, less willing to disengage. As we enter a new year, let us remember that God has blessed us with a world of technology and a universe of possibilities, with computers to do our bidding and friends who need our helping hands, with smartphones to communicate, but with a yearning for connections, with artificial intelligence for making our world better, and with authentic hearts for loving one another. May this Rosh HaShanah lead us into a year of growth and learning, pride and purpose, harmony and health, justice and peace for us, our families, and our neighbors, and our world. Amen.